and welcome back to the Niche Football Podcast. I am your host, Calvin Campbell, and the aim of this podcast is to focus on the more unique stories in football, ideally the ones you have not heard of. The podcast will run alongside the website nichefootballjournalism.co.uk in bringing you interesting stories from around the world. A more narrative and storytelling format than your usual football podcast, but not to say we don't have special guests. Like in previous episodes, guests from Tonga, Fiji, all over the world. This, and we aim to tell a unique story in every episode. So, in this episode, we're looking at a great Italian, an Italian many may not even know the name of. So, let's begin. Who were the great talents that plied their trade in Italian football from the last 20, 30 years? Lots of arguments will be made for the likes of Francesco Totti, the one-man club man, the one clubman. Same as Paolo Maldini, another clubman. What about Pavel Nedved or Ronaldo Nazario? The list goes on. How about those talents that never quite made it because of outside factors? The big name that springs to mind is, of course, Adriano. Um, if we were to sit down and for an hour or so and rattle off names from this area, the list could just go on and on. But what if we look away from the very top teams in Italy and instead cast our eyes to the lower half of the Serie A and below? A small percentage of people may have heard the name, and to be fair, one look on YouTube, a discovery of talent may surprise many. This is the story of Davide Moscardelli. So, to the casual football fan, this name will mean very little. But to those who follow any sort of Italian football, this name can really stand out. He was a serious talent, was Davide. A talent that never got the light of day at the big clubs, but one that worked its way through the lower leagues in Italy to become one of the biggest missed opportunities in European football. So, who is Davide Moscardelli? Davide was born in Mons, Belgium, on the 3rd of February 1980, to Italian parents working in the Air Force, who were at the time based in Belgium. And not long after his birth, Davide and his family moved back to their roots in Rome and settled. Davide started his football journey going between a number of Roman clubs, never really making an impression or settling. Not the start aspiring players look out for, but an essential step in his career nonetheless. Davide's career looked to be one that wouldn't see the headlines of national papers, but one that would possibly pass by the eyes of any spectator. One season at, excuse pronunciation, there's going to be a few Italian words in this, Guidonia Monticello became a huge first step on the road to recognition. This was the season that nearly happened, that never nearly happened for Davide. Without a club a week before the start of the Eccellenza Lazio, which is the sixth tier, he got the call and swiftly signed for Guidonia. A fruitful move for the club. Davide played one season at the club and scored a hatful of 22 goals and helped lift the league trophy at the first attempt. Not bad for someone without a club a week before the start of the season. However, this almost wasn't the dream scenario because Guidonia were deducted 10 points during the season for fielding Moscardelli himself, as the league had disqualified him for some games with issues regarding his registration. Not to be deterred though, the club, with Davide, went on to win the playoffs and gain promotion their league performance had deserved. The season did not go unnoticed, and Davide was offered his first professional contract with Serie A side Chievo, with Davide immediately moving to Serie C side Sang, again, excuse pronunciation, Sangiovese in a co-ownership deal. The move appeared to be a great decision for the development. With an average of 0.5 goals a game, It looked as though this young man could have what it takes to reach the pinnacle of Italian football. Sangiovanese, again, if it's right, fought in the same manner and brought Davide outright from Chievo, and he quickly shipping him on to the Serie B side, Triestina, for €250,000. A smart bit of business from the Serie C side. What made him so attractive to such a number of clubs, though? A tall, left-footed forward, incredibly strong, and without trying to sound like your typical Sunday League spectator, he's got a good touch and a great technique for a big lad. He really did have it all to make it to the very top, and with the goal record to back it up. Besides from his footballing ability, however, Moscardelli became arguably more recognisable, not for his football, but for his facial hair. One of the greatest beards in the history of the game. Quite fittingly, in Italy, they often quote him as the man with the most famous beard in football. Why the beard then? The story comes from a promise to his family, who will not shave the beard until he is signed for Bologna. A quick internet search, and it's easy to understand why Davide's beard gained um, more nostalgic traction than arguably his football does. After his retirement, he changed this promise because of AS Roma, his beloved club from childhood. The club had made the Champions League semi-final, so it was big news when Davide offered to shave it all off if AS Roma went on to win the whole thing. Back to his journey though, as Roma did not win the Champions League, he kept his beard for now. But now he finds himself in Serie B, and the trajectory of the man did not stop here. An outstanding first season with Triestina, scoring 16 goals. The club sought after and finalised a deal to purchase the remaining 50% of his registration, as the original deal to bring him to Triestina was again another co-ownership. This was a big statement of intent by the club and showed the confidence they had in Davide. The deal cost the club an additional €500,000. He would not become a regular starter initially, having to share the forward roles with Dennis Godier and Alessandro Tulli. Then, with a couple more attacking signings at the beginning of the 05-06 season, Davide decided to join Rimini, the club who had just won promotion to the Serie B a season before. A less than ideal start to his new club, but he was once again one of three forwards battling for two places in the side. He did not score once again on his debut, but only managed. He did score, sorry, once again on his debut, but he did only manage 6 goals in 31 games. Not an outstanding record, but someone deemed more as a second striker, and to have joined a club after just being promoted, it definitely wasn't a failure of a season. Again, the same fate became upon Davide. An influx of signings included a couple more attackers, and notably for the goalkeeper Samir Handanovic, who has obviously gone on to be very successful in the Serie A. Davide found himself coming off the bench, only starting 11 games. This, however, was to be a more fruitful season for the attacker, scoring 9 goals. But it wasn't enough to keep him around. An incredibly lucrative offer came in from then Russian giants Rubin Kazan. At the time, a Champions League side, a whopping €1.2 million for the player. But he rejected the move with the desire to play in Serie A. Uh, he wanted to stay there because it was more meaningful to him than the money that was offered in Russia. He went on to move to Cesena and then Piacenza. It almost never quite happened for him. This was until 2010 when his old club Chievo came knocking on his door once again. Unsure whether or not he would be a regular starter for the now Serie A outfit, Moscardelli could finally say he was a Serie A footballer. In typical fashion, he went on to score on a debut in a 2-1 win over Catania. And 66 appearances in 3 seasons really made Chievo feel like a home for Davide. A trust from the club in his ability allowed him to showcase his incredible technique on the big stage of Italian football, and fans from all over the country were in awe of his trademark beard. Moving to fellow Serie A side Bologna meant two things: another opportunity in the Serie A and the shaving of his beard. This was huge news in Italy, with Bologna fans asking the forward to grow it back. And as a man of the people, Davide listened to the fans. Unfortunately for the club, he was powerless to prevent the club's relegation to the Serie B, scoring two goals and being mainly used as a substitute. His career seemed to tail off a little bit from here, with moves to three consecutive Serie C clubs ending at Pisa. But one last triumph in an up and down career, he would help the club achieve promotion to the Serie B after beating former club Triestina in the promotion game. So since then, Davide Moscardelli has gone on to retire in 2020, leaving a trail of Italian clubs behind him. Ask anyone that saw this man play the game of football, and they will tell you he was destined to become one of the biggest names in not only Italian football, but the world of football. Famous for his style of play, his technique, his flair, and his acrobatic goals, Davide Moscardelli will almost certainly be remembered in Italy at least. And if anyone asks of the rawest talents in football, it would be a crime to leave Davide Moscardelli's name off the list. An online search of this man will bring up videos of just how talented he was. These are must-see clips that will give anyone an understanding on how much natural ability he had. So why was he never noticed from bigger clubs in Italy? His youth career, looking back, may have impacted this. A taller player, clubs saw Davide as a defensive player, using him to win aerial battles and keep the ball out of the net. Davide, as we came to understand though, always wanted to be an attacking player. This ultimately stumped his progression and led him to sign for clubs in the lower leagues as an attacker. What could have been if he was coached as an attacker from youth level? Would we look back on this talent with the same views if he was to have played for a giant of Italian football? Who knows? But we should enjoy the story we have of him. And this was the story of more than just a man with the most famous beard in football, but of a man who began on clay surfaces as a child, forged his way up through six divisions of Italian football to reach the heights of the Serie A, and to leave with a legacy of footballing excellence. A talent that will never be forgotten, but a talent that will rarely be remembered. And there goes the final whistle on the story. If you have any thoughts, head over to the website and leave a comment on the article. All feedback is appreciated, even ways in which to improve the podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, a 5-star review on Spotify would be amazing. Like the video on YouTube and subscribe to the Niche Football Pod. And remember to tell your friends. More articles are available on the website nichefootballjournalism.co.uk for your reading pleasure. Go follow the socials, Instagram at Niche Football Pod. I have been your host, Kevin, and I'll see you at the next kickoff.